What up, everybody? It's your boy AA Ron coming to you with another episode of First and Faithful. In this episode, we're going to get into the way too early schedule review and prognostication results. But before we get into that, this is the part of the show where I plead and beg for you to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, click the little bell icon so you're notified as soon as a new video drops. But now that we got that out of the way, let's jump into, like I said, this is the schedule review, way too early results. Obviously, if I'm wrong, don't hold me to it. But obviously, if I'm right, I'm going to say I knew it all along. So, take this with kind of a grain of salt. We're going to go game by game, kind of how I see it kind of playing out. Just a brief kind of, obviously, week by week, we'll get into a little more in depth. But this is just kind of a brief review. Who I think is going to win, no scores, just who I think is going to win and why. So let's kick this off. You can see the schedule right there. Obviously, with the Niners finishing first in their division, and obviously first in the NFC, the schedule's a little tougher than most. I mean, that's the disadvantage of finishing first in your divisions. You get a little tougher schedule as opposed to when you finish last. It's a little bit easier. Some of the travel is a little crazy. Thankfully, it looks like they were able to kind of work it where they kind of knock out the big road trips, kind of back-to-back weeks. So it's not the back and forth between West Coast and East Coast. Still a lot of travel, but the way the schedule worked out, maybe a little break. Obviously, having the bye week in week 11 this year as opposed to week 4 last year is a big plus. Hopefully that any injuries or anything nagging, you can kind of knock out kind of later in the year as opposed to having everybody go from basically week 5 on, last year going through the Super Bowl. So let's just jump right into it. And week 1, again, at home against the Cardinals. Should be a great game. I'm going to do my best to be there, kind of depending, obviously, on COVID and how the NFL proceeds with fans in the stadium, etc. But that's one game definitely going to try to be at this year. I'm from Arizona, so I do love watching the Niners beat the Cardinals whenever possible and shut up the local fans around here. But for that game, for me, easy W. I just, with a whole offseason to prepare, Shanahan, the defense. I know a lot of people like the Cardinals this season, kind of as that dark horse team. They obviously got D-Hop, Nuke. You have Fitzgerald, Kyler Murray, defending offensive rookie of the year. Some of the other pieces, Kingsbury in his second season. So there's a lot of kind of hype around them. I'm not as sold on them. My thing is, let me get one more season out of Murray, especially. There's a lot of expectations, and especially with quarterbacks, I think year 2 is when you want to see that, progression, because now the whole league has a whole year's worth of tape on you. What adjustments do you make? Kingsbury, what adjustments does he make year 1 to year 2, right? Shanahan, he's shown that, he's a top 2 offensive mind. Maybe him and Andy Reid, and I think that's kind of it. Those are the top 2, and then there's everybody else. And honestly, I think Shanahan's above Reid, but obviously those 2 are the 2 top. But they've done it year after year after year after year after year. Where Kingsbury, his offense was all right last season, but nothing like, it didn't light the league on fire. It wasn't like Chip Kelly when he came in with the Eagles, kind of set the league on fire for that first season. So for me, W. Defense has, a chance to obviously come into that rest up. For me, that's a W. Then let's go week 2 against the Jets in New York. Jets, one of those teams that, again, very, 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 very young. Darnold and they lost some of their Robbie Anderson. Defense is all right. For me, that's, I don't want to say easy win. I don't think there's such thing as an easy win in the NFL, but for me, that's a dub, no problem. I don't need to get too much into that, I don't think. Then they basically stay on the East Coast, play the Giants. Crazy. They go back-to-back weeks, Jets, Giants, and playing in the same stadium, which MetLife Stadium, which is kind of interesting. I assume that they will stay somewhere, either just stay in New York or stay somewhere very close nearby and play those back to back. So if they had to come home and then go back out, maybe you're kind of a little worried about that. But with their ability, they showed last year to stay on the East Coast, and the road trips didn't seem to affect them too much. For me, that's another dub. I won't say easy, but I think they get it. And honestly, I think as long as they shut down Saquon Barkley, I think it's everybody pins their ears back. Lots of sacks. Daniel Jones doesn't know what hit him. He's another dub. Then they come home for a really interesting Sunday night football primetime matchup with the Philadelphia Eagles. Very interesting matchup. If you did not know, Brandon Brooks, the Eagles, very talented Pro Bowl offensive lineman, tore his ACL, I believe, yesterday or the day before. So he probably at least won't be there for that game. I don't know if he'll be back by the end of the season or not. Probably not. So that's obviously a huge blow to that offense. Huge blow to the offensive line. Obviously, you have Carson Wentz, who is, I won't say he's injury prone, but obviously just has a bad injury history. Not having Brooks there is going to be a huge blow to that offensive line. Obviously, going against probably the best defensive line in the league. I think that's just bad news Bears. I think they get after Wentz early and often, and I think it's just just kind of a snowball thing, and then I think you see Niners offense do what the Niners offense do. Eagles still really haven't shored up that secondary very well, so I kind of expect Garoppolo to have a really nice night on primetime. Another dub put in the books. Then week 5, we got the Miami Dolphins at home. At home, Miami comes into Santa Clara. Matt Breida gets to come back to the Niners or play against the Niners. Another dub for me. Miami is a team that, in 2 seasons, I think not this season, maybe 2 seasons, with Tua back, with the draft picks, a little seasoning, and that could be a team I think you could see that makes that leap from basement to kind of that Niners leap from kind of basement to, oh my God, a title contender. That's a team I look for in 2 seasons. Not this season. This season is getting the young guys experience in the system, kind of like the Niners got 2 seasons ago. And then you see it that next season where that seasoning's paid off and they're ready to contend. Then week 6, LA comes to town. Another Sunday night football game, prime time. One of the oldest, rivalries around. One of the great rivalries. I'm glad it's kind of been renewed. It's always been a good rivalry, but both teams are fairly good. Rams, obviously, I hate to say it, they kind of shot their load last season when they, kind of went after it, try to, Super Bowl or bust. Obviously, it busted. Had to release, a lot of people. Gurley's gone. Clay Matthews is gone. It's Cooks is gone. So it's definitely a situation where Sean McVay is definitely going to prove how good of a coach he is. Honestly, this is the season, having lost a lot of pieces and having to kind of retool on the fly, and with basically no cap room to kind of change anything, you get to see how, this is where I think a coach really makes their, mark. So we'll see. But it should be another, obviously a great matchup. Rams, Niners, Sunday Night Football. Obviously, great matchup. I'm actually going to try to make it to that game as well. We'll see, obviously, how that works out. Week 7, go to New England. Garoppolo gets to go against, Bill Belichick. Unfortunately, Tom Brady's not there. It would have been cool to see, Garoppolo and the Niners, in New England against Bill Belichick, against Tom Brady. A lot of storylines, obviously, in this one. Obviously, Jimmy G goes back, quote-unquote, home to the team that drafted them. You get to see Shanahan against, Bill Belichick. Obviously, that, still, I'm sure, kind of salty from that Falcons-Patriots 28-3 Super Bowl comeback win. So, a lot of moving storylines at that point. It'll be interesting to see where the Patriots are, by that point in the season, almost a halfway point. Does Jared Stidham, is he looking like the second coming? Is he not? A lot of moving parts there, so it'll be interesting. And then obviously seeing how Bill Belichick, one of the masters defensively, that's a guy you give a week or two to, and he seems to always come up with a plan, a game plan that negates what you do best. So it'll be interesting to see what tricks he has up his sleeve against, the guy he drafted in Jimmy G, how they do. But I got that one as another win. If I didn't say before, the Rams game, obviously a win as well. I have this one as a win. I think it'll be close, but I think the Niners at this point are just the better team. And so I think they just take one. Now this is the part of the season where this is like the crazy, and I think this 5-game from the Rams game week 6, Patriots week 7, and this is where it gets very difficult, and this is where it kind of gets hard to, how much of an optimist you are kind of plays into how you think they'll do in the stretch. But after they go and play New England, they go to Seattle. Obviously, Seahawks, tough test, always. And this is where I have a hard time with. I have them beating the Seahawks, although I could see that being an L very easily. Seahawks always play the Niners tough. It's always a close game. I can see that, the travel kind of catches up. I can see him taking the L in that game. But I have them beating the Seahawks week 8. Week 9 is a Thursday night football matchup against the Packers in Santa Clara. I have that as an L. It's not that I think the Packers are a better team. I think at that point the travel catches up. I just think at that point it catches up to go. You play a division rival week 6. You go to New England, you shoot back to Seattle, and then on less than 4 days, that's not even 4 days rest. You play 4 days later. You only have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday rest, but you're probably going to practice leaves. Like on short rest against a Packers team, I'm sure will be kind of pumped up for that game. I think the Niners, give a good. I don't think they get stomped. I don't think they get just destroyed, but I do think Packers eke one out. I think you just see that just just kind of gets to them eventually. Then the next week 10, they go to New Orleans again for the umpteenth time. Good news, New Orleans does come to Santa Clara in 2021. That's already in the schedule. They do come out in a week, obviously, but they do come to Santa Clara finally. And everybody's like, why don't they ever come to Santa? It feels like Niners are always in New Orleans. Next season, the Saints do come to Santa Clara, so we will finally see the Saints in Santa Clara. But week 10 at New Orleans, I think the Niners bounce back from that loss to the Packers, bounce right back in a big way. The advantage of even though they have to travel to New Orleans is because they play the Packers on Thursday night, they have that extra 3-4 days before they have to go back, before they have to go to New Orleans. So I think that little extra 3-4 days to get everybody rested again and travel, they can get out to New Orleans a little bit early. I think that pays huge dividends. I think they go into New Orleans, do what they did last year, and take another one from the Saints, which at that point puts them at 9-1 going into their bye week in week 11. I think if they're sitting at 9-1 after 10 weeks, I'm sure they're going to be pretty excited about that. The other reason I haven't beaten the Saints, not only do they have the break before that, the little extra couple days, is they have the bye after. And to me, I think it's easier to get up when you have tomorrow, like that next week you have off. Kind of like when you get up Friday, if you don't work on the weekends, it's so much easier to get up Friday when hey, let me just get through this day, and then I don't have to worry about work for another 2 or 3 days. It is, I think that's the thing that gets you up. You're excited, but you work at the office, wherever you work, people are on Friday. Everybody's got that pep in the step, right? Because they know, like, let me just get through this, and then it's the weekend. So I think you kind of see the same thing with the Niners. They're fired up. It's a big time matchup, anyways. But having that bye right after and getting that break, I think you just see them bring it and take out the Saints. And like I said, week 11, much needed bye. I love how it's much later in the season. I think that's great. hopefully you hope there's no major injuries. And, there's always going to be kind of minor nicks and bruises, those kinds of things. So that gives them a chance to kind of get everybody rested and hopefully for the stretch run going into the last, 6 games of the season. Coming out of the bye week 12, they go to LA, play the Rams. Another W for me. I just think they're just better than the Rams at this point. The power has shifted. Week 13, Monday Night Football at home against the Buffalo Bills. This, depending on where the Bills are, depending on what kind of jump Josh Allen has made, they did pick up Stephon Diggs, traded for him in the offseason. This could be a very interesting matchup. This could be a future Super Bowl matchup. I mean, Bills are definitely on the up. Depending on what the Patriots, how the Patriots kind of do in these next couple seasons, the Bills are kind of, the one team in the AFC East that's kind of right this second positioned to take over that division. Made the playoffs last season, should have beaten the Texans, kind of fell apart at the end, but, obviously that experience, good coach McDermott, very solid defense. Like I said, now they have Stephon Diggs added to that offense with Josh Allen, hopefully making that next step. John Brown becomes more like your number 2. You have Colby. I think offensively, Singletary stepping up as your main back. This could be, I don't think this year's Super Bowl, but you could easily see this being a Super Bowl matchup, 2 seasons, 3 seasons, something like that. So this is I really am looking forward to this matchup. I think it'll be great. Again, another primetime game. Niners have a ton. I think they have the max that you're allowed off the bat with 5. But obviously flexing, they may get 6, they may get 7. I wouldn't be surprised, honestly. So you have that. Another dub for me. Week 14, they get the Redskins at home, which is great. Obviously last year, remembers the kind of slop fest that was in Washington. Not the prettiest game by any standards, but Niners came out on top there. I don't see anything different this year or this game either. I think Niners take it. Dwayne Haskins has a bad game, and they just stomp, and then get ready for Week 15 in Dallas, Jerry World, as they like to call it. Sunday Night Football. This could be, a preview of the NFC Championship game. Could be that, like the early 90s when it was the Niners and Cowboys and kind of everybody else. This could be that. This could be the start of that rivalry again, with both teams being kind of at the top of their game. Obviously, Cowboys, CeeDee Lamb, Dak and Zeke, and just the firepower they have offensively. The question is going to continue to be defensively. Can they hold up? I'm not sure. We'll see. This one I have as a win as well. I think the Niners just, this is their chance, prime time to really make a statement. I think they come out and just, I think they really, really get after Dak, shut down Zeke, and just really, turn it on. Going back to the Week 14 game, I could see it being the trap game. Either Week 14 against the Redskins because they kind of look forward, they're looking past towards Dallas, or possibly Week 16, kind of depending. So I would not be surprised if they lost to the Redskins, kind of like they lost to the Falcons last season before, they played the Rams, and I think they kind of just, they kind of look past a little bit. I could see if you're looking at a trap game, Week 14 against Redskins, definitely that trap game. I could definitely see that one. Like I said, I have it as a W, but if you're looking for like a trap game, that's definitely, I think, the one that you're looking at. Week 15 against Cowboys, I have as a W. Again, Week 16 in Arizona, depending on where the Cardinals are, if they've made that leap, this could be, where the Cardinals at this point, are they playing for a wild card? Are they playing for, there's a lot of moving pieces there, but I still see the Niners. I'm not sold on Kingsbury. I'm definitely not sold on that defense. I think that defense, outside of Pat Pete, who, suspended for this first 6 games last season, it was all right on the second half once he came back. I mean, their secondary outside him is not good. They did pick up Isaiah Simmons, kind of billed as the Kittle stopper, but they are, I think, kind of one note in what they do. And I think, obviously Garoppolo had his two best games of the season last year against the Cardinals. I think 400 yards in both games. I just don't see that. And this is where it gets interesting. I have them winning week 16, which puts them at 14-1. And again, this is why I call this the way too early, overly optimistic. Don't hold me to this unless it ends up being correct, in which case I knew it all along. Prediction show. I have them losing week 17 because I think if they beat the Cardinals or 14-1, they've clinched. They're the number one seed. They don't have to worry about it. They rest, they play everybody maybe a half or so. Seahawks at that point, I think, are probably fighting for a playoff spot. I think I think it's a close game anyways, but I think, the Niners drop that because they don't need it. They're playing the third stringers. They don't need the game. They drop it. So there you have it. I have them at a very optimistic 14-2. Again, that's why we call it the way too early, super optimistic viewpoint. 14-2, like I said, and really more like that last loss. I don't even know if you count that one because I think they've just clinched. They rest everybody. It's not a loss in the sense that they get beat more than they kind of give it away, So I'm at 14-2. You can see here, I know that's optimistic. It's tough with this team to not be optimistic because of how well they played last season. I mean, they rose to the occasion so many times. Every game that you thought like, no, they're gonna lose that one, and then they would win. I think the only one that, they was the Baltimore one where it was like, okay, yeah, and even then it came down to a last second field goal. So it, that was, even their losses, I think their losses were combined, 13 points, something like that. They were very, or 16 points. I think it was 16 points was over the three losses, 16 points. So basically, less than a touchdown each loss. It's kind of crazy how they always seem to rise to the occasion. So for me personally, it was really hard to, and again, we're so early, you don't know what the makeup of these teams are, how good they are, how bad they are. Some of these teams may be terrible. Some of these teams may be, way better than, Dwayne Haskins could be the second coming, absolutely have a monster second year, and the Redskins could be very good. Injuries happen. You go into that week 10 at the Saints, and Drew Brees isn't playing. There's all kinds of moving pieces, so it's always hard to say now before you've seen the teams before, but it just makes it really tough. But I have them, like I said, 14-2, 1 seed in the NFC, and the revenge tour. They live up to it, and starts in the regular season. They, I think they go on that run. They're locked in, they focus, they know what it takes to win. They did it last season, and I think they're young and very hungry. I think they know that they are capable of it, but also recognizing that the time they have to win it can sometimes be very small. The window opens and closes sometimes very quickly. Ask the Rams. They thought and not that saying it's closed, but obviously last season was not what they were hoping for. But this team just has that makeup of a team that's ready to, that got a taste of it, and now they want the whole thing. So let me know what you guys think. Leave me a comment below. Again, this is where at the end of the video I always beg, please like, subscribe, hit the little bell icon, share with friends. Do not be afraid to leave some comments below. Hit me up on Twitter at First and Faithful. Thanks for watching. I'm Aaron, and this is First and Faithful.